speaking of everybody winning, I'm really, really excited. This has kind of been a long time coming. Two people that I think are going to bring massive, massive value to every dealership and industry partner watching. One of them I have met and have a relationship. One of them I have not. David Kain, president of Kain Automotive. Welcome back to the show. I coin you as the nicest person in automotive. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure to be back.
And I just love a little Kentucky accent on the show, too. I'm just going to say that. And David actually introduced me to Nicole Nooyer, general manager and owner of Nooyer Chevrolet in Michigan. Nicole, we haven't met face-to-face, but many people, including Bob Lanham, who was just a guest on the last segment, have said amazing things about you. So just so you know, they set the expectation really, really high. I don't think we're going to be disappointed. Nicole, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to maybe save those things. I'll have somebody tell my brother what they said. It was really great. So when he's mad at me, I can kind of give him those.
We'll do our best to make that happen. So with this session, we have 25 minutes, and we're going to be talking about this principle of the customer being in control, the buyer being in control of the process. Now, dealers all across the country, I'd like to check in first and say, what status of open are you in? Can you give us a little insight in like what your journey through the pandemic has been?
Yeah, so we were shut down for about 3 weeks, and then we were allowed to open, but our showroom had to be closed, which I think made us the most nervous, but it was actually the best. That was our biggest change. So since then, we were able to have then appointment only after about a month, and now the showroom can be open. But we're still going back to, do you want to come inside? Do you want to be outside? But yeah, so we can have as many customers as we want in the showroom. It's not by appointment only, but most of our customers, I'd say it's mixed. Some of them want to stay outside, some of them want to come inside, and we learned a lot from having to have that showroom closed. I think was the best thing that ever happened to us.
Wow, that's a big statement. Can you actually just give us a minute or two background on your store, kind of its origination and kind of the size and location and kind of the demographic that you serve?
Yeah, so my grandfather started this location. My great-grandfather was in Kalamazoo. So my brother and I are running it right now. He does service, parts, and body shop and used cars, and I do sales and finance. We're fourth generation, which is hard to do, but we have a really good family therapist. It's the only reason we're fourth generation. So get together. And Holland, I would say, we're maybe 200,000 trading area. We're on Lake Michigan, so small Midwestern town, good community. I think we can weather recessions fairly well because people are conservative, so they save and they feel like when it's the right time to buy, they're ready to go. Mm-hmm. And we sell about 130, 150 new and used vehicles, and we've been able to, per month, we've been able to get close to that even through COVID. And we found it's just how do you put that puzzle together? So if we don't have any new car inventory, you're going to sell more used cars. Our finance department's doing really well. People want protection. And then, again, taking what we learned, we've been an APB store, so automotive profit builders. We have them trained 3 times a year. We've been doing that for 20 to 25 years. And it's great because it's a system and it's a structure. But I think what we found is that it's such a system and structure, it makes the customer feel that they have to go with our process rather than that we are being flexible with them. Mm-hmm. And, we closed 49%. We have greeters, so we track all of our customers, but we closed 49% new and used cars last year, 48% the year before that. So I don't want to lose that high of a closing percentage, mm-hmm. but I also think we can do even better by opening up our sandbox and making a little bit more flexible with what we've learned. And I mean, going into COVID and I would come into work, not being able to sell cars and stand in the showroom by myself and have people in the lot and not do anything. That was hard. Yeah. But what we learned, I think we're going to be a better team. And David helped us. He meets with our management team. We have him trained with us. But our theme for the year for our managers was resilience. And I think resilience has been a great theme. We picked it in February. So it was before we knew this was going to happen, but we've been able to really see how strong we are.
That's an amazing, thanks for the background, but that is a really interesting insight, especially about you kind of looking at closing ratios and being willing to actually flex a little bit on that because you understand like opening up the intake might benefit you in a better way than being so disciplined about like that one number, right? Because number of cars sold is what mattered, right? Not closing ratio. I I want to flip to David just for a second. So David, you get experience with dealers all over the country, of all different shapes and sizes, all brands. When we talk about this principle of resiliency and how dealers are actually taking charge of, or at least taking responsibility for this new world where the buyer is in control, what is your main message to them?
Well, surprisingly, I've been doing this for a long time, and I always thought that the car was the star. And yesterday, Paul, I was lucky enough to get exposed to a new website provider in the industry, and they don't have any automotive experience. And so I was going through the dynamic as they were talking about why they build their websites the way they do. And they come from a Microsoft, background where they work with real estate and the like, and now they're transitioning to automotive. And she said, my main focus is the customer is the star. And I was raised with the car as the star.
Yeah.
And we help the customer get to find the car. And so that was a mic drop moment for me, because I've always felt, and Nicole can attest to this, everything I teach is let's make it about the customer. Let's make it about the customer. But always from a marketing standpoint, the car is the star. So if you look at our websites, they're so car centric, and they're not necessarily designed around the ease of use from a marketing standpoint for the customer. Now, processes, which is what we teach, it's always the customer is the star. And if the customer wins, we win inherently. So that seems to be a resilient message to me. Is the internet is me TV. I get to decide where I go, when I go, which tablet or phone or desktop that I use. So I control all the variables. But once I turn myself over to the dealership, you got to join with me, and we got to work as a team to pull this together. And I think that's part of what I'm learning when you work with good organizations like Nicole's is they've always been so well structured on the foundations of how to work in the advantage of the customer. And I've been doing this for a long time, and Paul, you know this, you can work with all kinds of people, but you really enjoy working with some people.
Yeah.
And she's awesome to work with, and that's why as a fourth generation, and I think that's right. I've got 8 brothers and sisters, and 3 of them are sisters, and I've had to learn how to get along with family my whole life. So I understand a lot of that dynamic.
You probably play at least an adjunct role when Nicole says we've had a really great family therapist. My hunch is that you're part of that support network. Nicole, we're gonna come back to you in just a second after I read this quick word from the sponsor of this segment. So this segment specifically thought was a good fit to be brought to you by Auto Lead Star. Auto Lead Star is pioneering smart marketing automation in the automotive industry, and it's built by top-tier engineers and data scientists, and it uses algorithms to rapidly deploy, test, and optimize thousands of messages across all marketing channels. All this brain power leads to increased high-intent conversions. Automation at scale is the next evolution in automotive marketing. It poises you to make a difference right now in this ever-changing dynamic market. Auto Lead Star works industry-wide with hundreds of dealers, including top 150 U.S. auto groups. It helps dealers future-proof their marketing operations while spending less money. So I want to thank Auto Lead Star for making this session possible. You can learn more about their product and their people at autoleadstar.com. Thank you for your patience through that. Nicole, I want to get back to you. So David just talked about this, the internet is like me TV. And the processes that dealers deploy are all customer-centric, but the marketing that kind of connects to that has been disjointed. And when you look at a lot of automotive marketing, the car is the star, that mentality definitely reigns supreme. We're showing a lot of metal, we're showing prices and payments, when really, when people see marketing, they like to see themselves reflected back at them. What is your response or perspective on that? I have no idea what type of marketing your store does or which trajectory you're heading in. How do you view and kind of respond to that with the buyers in control?
Yeah, I think we when COVID happened, you needed to keep updating your website. So what can people come to the showroom? Can they not? Can you
Yep.
deliver a car? So I think it was really giving them options. Here's what we are open. Here's what we can do for you. And then that continued to change. So making sure your Google My Business was accurate. I mean, you look at a number of businesses you'd call, they weren't open. It said they were. Making sure your website was up to date. And then we did TV. We don't do radio. We kept our, like Carfax and Car Gurus and all that stuff. Those leads were up. But I think it was mostly, and TV was not about pricing. It was, we're open. We're a 4th generation family business. We're here to help you. I had an older couple come in and they said to me, they came to see me. They said, we've been inside for 2 months. We saw your TV ad. And because you're a 4th generation family business, we thought you would help us, be safe. So that's why we came to your dealership and bought this umbrella. So I think realizing, and even when I asked our salesman, we did our last TV ad, what's important when we are thermal fogging, disinfecting all of our vehicles before and after the ride. So we put that in our TV ad. We have a video of my brother doing it to a car. So it's just trying to understand what the customer views as important, which is less about price. I was listening to a customer talk to one of my managers on Monday, and he was talking about, he said, well, when my mom bought a car 3 months ago, back when you can negotiate price on cars. And I was surprised that he said that. I think new car inventory being low is making that harder. That's a big part of it. But also, it's just a little bit more respect. We're appreciative of the customers coming in. They're appreciative we're open. And it's a better mutual relationship. So I think for our marketing, that's what we're trying to get across. Hey, we're here for you. We'll adapt how you want to handle it. Do you want us to bring the car to you? Do you want to come to the showroom? Do you want to set an appointment? Do you want to, come and sign paperwork? Do you want us to bring it out to your car? It's just letting everybody know you're going to do what they feel safe with. Because one thing, there's a big spectrum of where people are. So some people, some people want to come in, some people don't, some people want to have their mask, and you just need to make sure everybody knows that you can keep them safe.
That's great. Somebody's ringing. I don't think it's me. Oh, it's all right. No, grab it. Turn it off. It happens to everybody.
All right.
And so, where do you see? So you just said we'll do whatever you want, Miss Customer. We'll bring the car to you. We'll sign the paperwork here. We'll do it digitally. Nicole, where's your gut telling you that you're going to end up when it comes to like how many people want to come into the store and have an experience, or how many people actually don't want to come into the store? What are you seeing? What do you think it's going to? Which direction do you think it's going to go?
I'd say when we started, it was 50-50. And now it's 90-10. Most people want to come in. Now, I can't tell if that's because they haven't been working, they're not working, they're really glad to get out of the house.
Yeah.
We're not requiring masks, but we're encouraging. So we're a little bit more flexible. It's not that we're going to kick you out if you're not wearing a mask, which some people like. And then we're wearing them if they want us to. But yeah, I still feel like people want to come in because I keep looking at Carvana, right? You can get a car delivered to you. You have 7 days to test drive it. But as I did a lot of online shopping while we were home, buying something, having it not work, sending it back, getting your refund, that's kind of a pain. If you can come in, know what works, and you're done with it, to me, that's easier. So it still feels like people want to come in. But what we're realizing is you've got to give them from the beginning possibilities. Do you want to stay outside? Do you want to come in? Do you want us to go for a test drive? Do you not? And as long as, and we're going to try and work with that. How do you do it in the winter? It's easy in the summer.
Yeah.
20 degrees and snowing, sitting at our picnic table outside probably is not
it's not happening.
Yeah. So I think people are going to want to come in. We're just going to try and make it a different experience from the beginning and adapt to their needs. Because I don't think people are going to change. Their comfort levels are going to be disrupted for a while. And until there's a vaccine, I mean, this could be 6 months to 2 years before it feels that people kind of go back to the way it was. And maybe I don't think we ever will.
Yeah. Like which mile of the marathon are we on right now? Is it mile 20 or is it mile 8?
Right.
We don't know. David, you see, again, you have broad experience seeing across the country. What are you seeing in macro? Like we spoke with Brian Benstock a few sessions ago and, highly encouraging people to stay digital. Here we're seeing, 90% of the people still want to kind of come in and make sure everything's buttoned up, all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. What are you seeing across the country, David, as far as how that's panning out?
Well, it's interesting as you look at the variety of state regulations, states that I think never admitted that there was a virus, and believe me, there's several of them that are out there.
I think we just talked to one. Yeah.
Virus is not allowed in our state, and by God, no mask, and so on and so forth. I think if you look at states that had partial showroom shutdowns or complete ones, will actually be advantage for the long term because they had to adapt. Those that were in a position where business was usual, they had a hot month. We've had all kinds of reports from our clients that said that May was an exceptional month, a record-breaking month, and now they're kind of out of inventory, but they're back to waiting for people to come in. If you had to advance digitally your marketing, your communications, and maybe you created virtual appointments with Zoom meetings, I think that's going to be pervasive in the future as consumers went to church, had birthday parties, happy hours, and the like, and Zoom meetings. I think dealerships that adapted to that kind of modernization of the buying process is going to be much better. So I learned this from John Malashenko, the COO of the Germain Group. And I shared with Nicole the other day, and we both agreed that it sounded really smart. Instead of the old adage, when can you come in, which is if you mystery shop 100 dealers, 99 are going to say, when can you come in?
Right.
His approach was the best way for you to stay safe and healthy is to, and he would lay that out depending on where they're operating in Florida, Michigan, or Ohio, where their stores are. And I think that giving them the choice and letting them know that we're really going to concentrate on what's best for you allows the customer to feel more comfortable, allowing for better growth and allowing for more loyalty in the future.
That's a really good insight. Framing it up that way, I can't think of one person who's going to be like push back. Oh, well, if that's what's best for my safety and well-being, why don't we do something else? Like no one's saying it, so no one ever. Let's talk about the future. So right now, this is how it's going. Everybody's adopting and adapting through this. Brian Benstock just said a couple sessions ago, you learn a lot when you get punched in the face. Rhett Reichert said when we kicked off the program, bike races are won on the hills, right? What are you doing and how are you leaning in when it's tough? And that really is what's going to separate, back to your point, David, that the states and the dealers who had to go through some stress and some strain, they've actually pulled ahead a little bit, because we know the modern retail preference is to have flexibility. And maybe I want to stay away. Maybe I want to just be online. Maybe I want to shop at 11 p.m. and have somebody answer me. So, Nicole, how do you see your process? Like, what's on the wish list of things that if you could just wave the magic wand and your store would do it really, really well, what would it be?
I think one, it's starting the conversation where you're letting them know off the bat, hey, it's not I'm here to help you select a vehicle. It's, again, like David said, this is how do you want to stay safe? How do you want to have this experience happen? And then we were even talking about, a customer comes in the dealership, they don't like coming into a dealership, and then you pick a car and then they come and sit in your office. And as we were doing training with APB a couple weeks ago, our finance manager said, the customer's facing the salesman's closet, the salesman's facing the showroom. And she's like, when I walk past, they'll kind of look and wonder, who is that? But so, hey, we want to give people the choices from now on. Do you want to sit in my office? Do you want to walk in the showroom? We're going to get some different type of seating in the showroom that they can sit that's more comfortable. And our salesman said that customers love staying outside in their own car or in the car they picked. So they would pick a vehicle, the salesman would go in and get the pricing. And then they come out and the customer is asking, like, how do I set this, how do I set my stations on this? Which is a good sign that they like
Buy
the car.
sign, right, yeah.
Right. Rather than sitting there for 10 minutes doing nothing or shopping on their phone for a different price or different car, they're engaging with the car that we liked. And our salesman also made a good point that because at first the customers were outside, we were all worried about control. And we're trying to look more at, okay, hey, we want to lead, we don't want to control. That's a different feeling for us and the customer. And the salesman said because they knew the customers outside and couldn't come in, they did have more risk that if they didn't like the product, they'd leave. So they spent a lot of time focusing on the vehicle, which, as our APV trainer pointed out, hey, when you go to your doctor or a lawyer, do you want to hear about their family vacation? No, you want to work on sometimes we think we need to build rapport and talk about something other than the car. But when we focused on the vehicle, we had way more leadership. The customer appreciated it because we're solving their problem. So going forward, I want to make sure we give customers options and that we really do focus on the car that's best for them, not this like fake camaraderie that I'm not saying you don't like the customer, but just
No, it's everybody knows when that comes out.
Right.
Everybody knows. And I mean, like, think about how long ago that tactic was, that was back when we had company that would drop in at your house and you would stand on the steps and you would talk for 30 minutes, without having it planned in. I mean, that was a different life. So to think that, random customer who already spent 3 hours online, know which car you have, know that they want to see it, they want to hear about your dog, your dog's, stitches or whatever happens to come up, right? That's another world that we used to live in. And you brought up another point that is very simple, and I think dealers can really take something away from him. One of the gentlemen that's sitting right here to my right, he used to be a manager. We used to work at Radio Shack. I mean, years ago. He's been with me for 16, 17 years. Peter Schultz, he's smiling over here. But if there's a sales strategy or a tactic called transfer of ownership, and I'm trying to sell you something at Radio Shack and I give it to you so that you can have it in your hand, and now you feel a level of ownership. So leaving the customer with the vehicle instead of pulling them out of the vehicle, putting them in an office, facing the back wall so they can see, Bob's dog that he already told them about that they don't care about, right? Having them sitting in the car, messing with the gadget, right? Like, what a brilliant and simple idea that keeps the buyer in buy mode, right? I think that could have easily gotten buried, but I think it's a brilliant insight. David, what are you telling dealers to do when it comes to their process when somebody walks in the showroom? I know we have like 2 minutes left. I want to try to squeeze a little nugget of wisdom out while you're still with us.
Sure. One of the things that we've learned, and it's Honda East in Cincinnati, is check the customer in from a digital retailing standpoint. And by going ahead and letting your salesperson engage where they were, and in those instances where they use digital retailing, in their case, the Roadster platform, and it's not platform dependent, but basically picking up where the customer left off instead of the old adage, let's sit down and do that 30 minutes meet and greet and all the other stuff that is uncomfortable. I learned this from a fellow Beaver Toyota, James Buskey, and I love this phrase: what's got you in the market for a new vehicle? Oh, I wrecked my car, I graduated, I got a new job, I lost my car, whatever. Now we can use that to leverage, but those kind of simple nuances, I think, are going to help advance this whole purposeful buying process. And when we think in terms of making it easy for the customer to say yes, let's get there and let's not build objections. My early training was get them to object, wear them down, and get them to buy from you. And that's crazy.
Grind them till they buy or die, right?
Yeah, that sounds like Bob Lanham trying to sell his Facebook ads or something.
Oh, man. Well, that's some fun insight. We are unfortunately out of time, but I can't thank you enough for making some time in your schedules to share just your insights with the industry. I really believe that dealers and industry partners banding together really are the pathway to learning from one another and making the tide rise. And when that happens, all boats rise with it. So David, Nicole, thank you so much for being on the program. I look forward to talking again soon.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
My pleasure.